Hello and welcome to Filmi Ladies. Can you guess what color it is? It's
Is it
blue.
yellow?
It's blue. I feel like blue is almost everybody's favorite color,
Mhm.
and I have always resented it for that because there are so many colors. I feel like maybe this is a US thing and maybe a Midwestern US thing.
Yeah.
Everyone says blue, and it's like, ho hum, how boring. And so I have my whole life been a little like, about blue. Like I
Right.
actually don't have much clothing that's blue other than jeans. I no room in my house is blue. I just kind of avoid it. But also it is the only color that has no warm in it.
Hmm.
My definition, right? And I like warm colors. So, it kind of makes sense that it's the one I like the least. It's like if you
Right.
like cool colors, orange is probably your least favorite because it has no cool colors in it. So,
Hmm.
um, but blue, like many of the other colors we've been discussing, has a lot of meanings. So what does blue mean to you?
Blue has always meant to me, kind of like lady sings the blues. Like I always associate it with like a level of melancholia,
Mm.
or like just outright sadness. And just kind of like this feeling of like angst and like a little bit of feeling a little bit blue, feeling a little bit down. I mean, when you ask someone how have you been doing, and if they say, oh, I've been feeling a little bit blue, it doesn't mean that they're ready to like go jump off the Golden Gate Bridge, but it does mean that they're like maybe struggling with something. And I've often wondered why blue makes us think of those things, because it's not like the color of rain, it's not the color of like thunderstorms or anything. It's literally the color of the ocean. And isn't the ocean supposed to be very soothing? And isn't the sky supposed to be soothing? Like a blue sky with no clouds in it is literally the definition of a peaceful and idyllic day. So why exactly? So why is blue so associated with sadness? I don't quite know.
I,
But that is my primary association with blue. And blue is not really a color I gravitate towards because my color is all shades of pink with a little bit of venturing into red. So blue is just, it's too different from my personality. But do you have any positive associations with blue, or do you also just think of it as like sad?
it's similar to what you said. So there's the sad aspect, and I feel like that it's slightly different from sad, but I
Mm.
can't tell you quite what there's like a little I don't
Like
know.
it's a bit mixed feelingy.
Yeah, there's something a little extra. I wouldn't, because I don't quite use those words interchangeably. I actually don't use the word blue to mean approximately that. I
Mm.
say it very often. I know what it means, and I
Right.
the blues in terms of a music
Right.
dance genre, especially in the United States, that's a big deal. But I don't. There's something kind of like I don't know. When I think about being blue, it's like I am a little down, and I want to tell you about it.
Yeah.
So it's not like a retreating sadness. It's more of a let me tell you. But I think that because of the music. Um,
Yeah. I
so
think so too.
I did think about bringing Sita Sings the Blues to
Mm.
this podcast, which is an amazing animated film that
So beloved.
so beloved there for a while. I feel like people don't talk about it much anymore. That animator is also from the town I live in, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Their fun connection. Um, but yeah, so but blue I mostly think of as being, in addition to blue skies, like a sunny, not sunny in terms of warmth, but like clear. Things are good,
Hmm.
things are calm, things are open. Um,
Hmm.
I think of that, but then I do really associate it with a sort of baseline generic answer. You know,
Mm.
people can't figure out what color to accent pillow to buy, they buy blue.
Hmm.
If when you think of like dudes who work in offices, if they wear a color, it's blue.
It's navy usually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a baby blue button-down shirt with their
Yeah.
great apple brown or khaki pants, right? So like it's a very basic color in the culture that I come from. So I kind of think
Yeah.
that way. That said, there are many beautiful blues. Like I love actual turquoise, the jewelry.
Yes.
I like teal is kind of the one version of blue that I actually like.
Hmm.
Lapis is beautiful. Sapphires
Hmm.
are beautiful. Blue in nature, I think is beautiful, but blue
Hmm.
translated to things, I do not gravitate towards blue things for whatever reason.
I also think of blue as like a rare color because, for example, if you look at food, how
Noble
many
food.
natural things except for blueberries are blue? right? Or if you think of flowers, like, okay, forget me nots are blues, and then there's like the Himalayan poppy, that's blue. It's not a color that you find that commonly. And I think that may also be why it's been associated with like royalty, like we say royal blue. It's associated with the aristocracy, like being blue-blooded, although that is more about like the terrible diseases that they inherited due to
Yeah,
inbreeding.
so like a purity color kind of, which is interesting.
Yeah, like there's definitely like a snottiness to some forms of blue. And I think like if you look at fashion brands like Ralph Lauren or Tommy Hilfiger, they
Mm,
definitely go all in on that. Like blue is the color of those Americans who are from like Cape Cod or like
preppy,
Martha's Vineyard, so preppy, so like Hyannisport. It's like it's very Kennedy. It's
especially
very
navy, I
Kennedy
think is
coded.
very
Yeah,
preppy. Yeah,
it's very that. It's not so much like blue collar, even though
right.
we do think of blue collar. But I mean, when
Yeah,
you think of
different
blue
like blue
collar,
collar and blue blood are totally opposite in a lot
right.
of ways.
And
Yeah.
then for me, when I think of blue collar, I'm thinking of like jeans. I'm thinking of overalls that have like a little bit of grease on them, right? But like even jeans now are like designer jeans. What started out as something that just the poor wore is
Yeah.
now like, you can get them pre-tattered for you, which is not an idea I like. Um I also feel like most of my like associations with blue are actually American,
Mhm.
because I don't feel like in Indian culture we talk about blue that much. The
Mhm.
one blue that India loves is what we call morpankhi or morpishi, which is literally peacock blue. Because
Oh,
more is peacock
were.
and punky is their wings, so peacock feather blue.
I mean, India is
That,
named after indigo, right? Or they share the
yeah.
same root, both.
Well, the Indus River,
Yeah. But isn't
but
the Indus River named that because of indigo? Or don't they share a root? I think those
that I'm
two.
not sure. Maybe they do, but
Yeah.
I
Well,
just, yeah.
indigo is
But
very Indian.
yeah, and it's like lapis as well. Like if you look at all of the Mughal architecture and everything, and the literal sapphires and lapis and turquoise that they would inlay into the work and like mosques and palaces and things like that. But I feel like India's favorite blue is morpankhi. Like everybody has morpankhi in their closet. It's literally considered like a beautiful, auspicious color. India
Mm,
does not really love blue apart from that.
interesting.
Like if you were to go into like an Indian sari shop and you were like, I want a blue sari and my budget is 15,000 rupees because I'm looking for like something really, really nice, like a really fancy kanjivaram, you're not going to really find a lot of shades of blue. And when I got married, so like traditionally among Maharashtrians, when you get married, you wear like green because it's like the color of like fertility and prosperity. And I fell in love with an aquamarine colored sari, and it had roses on it, and that is completely unusual. And the designer who sold it to me, he said to me that it was specifically made by Muslim craftsmen in Banaras. And typically the brides who would be purchasing what is known as firozi color, which is turquoise, he said typically it would be Muslim brides who would purchase firozi, because firozi is a very valued color in the Muslim culture. He's like, Hindu brides do not buy turquoise. And also he said the saris that Hindu brides purchase have like lotuses and jasmine and those kind of flowers embroidered onto them. They don't have roses. Roses are again a very Muslim coded thing, because in Hinduism roses don't necessarily have that great an association because of the thorns. It's more
Wow.
lotuses that we value. So he was like, I'm not going to tell you you can't buy the sari for your wedding. I'm just saying it's turquoise and it has roses on it. I was like, cool, thank you very much. Still buying it, still wearing it. So I remember even back then, like if you wanted to buy a wedding sari and your budget was that like of a wedding sari, you were not going to be finding blue. Um, so yeah, it's just a very interesting color.
Wikipedia does say that indigo comes from India, so I have
Ah,
around. I apologize.
okay.
Yeah,
And we certainly know a lot about indigo because of the movie that you and I both love, Mohenjo-daro.
we know so much. Honestly, if they focused more on indigo production and less on whatever that movie was about, I would be
Although the focus on Kabir Bedi is never wrong.
never wrong.
No.
Hang on to that thought.
Yes, I will.
We have picked two extremely different films, and because of the wild, wild divergence in almost every aspect of these films, Pitu is going to go first. with a much beloved, I feel, film that I've actually
Yes.
never seen, but I feel like people talk about this with great reverence, and then I will
Yes.
follow with a film that has none of those things.
Mhm. I mean, I would say your film is also one that people talk about with great reverence, but it is probably tongue in cheek. Um, so the movie I picked is literally one of my favorite films. It's Hyderabad Blues, and it is from 1998. It is a very quirky, very offbeat, very sweet slice of life indie movie made by Nagesh Kukunur. And I love this movie so much. When we did our NRI episode that we invited Vikas for, I actually was thinking about talking about it for that episode, but then I decided to pivot and go to Bollywood, Hollywood for that episode and decided to keep it for the blues episode. So Nagesh Kukunur is such an interesting filmmaker. Like I think he's amazing. He's made some of my favorite movies. Like he's made Rockford, which is also a movie I really love that not too many people talk about. He's also made Door. He's made Iqbal. Like he's made some really good films. But Hyderabad Blues was his first movie ever, and he is actually like a software engineer who grew up in Hyderabad, moved to the US. He studied at Georgia Tech, and he worked as a software engineer, but he always wanted to make a movie. And he took the money from his savings, came back to India, invested it into making his first film, which was Hyderabad Blues. It was shot, I believe, over 17 days in Hyderabad. And it's very sort of autobiographical. It's very much about his experiences. And he plays essentially himself in this film. So the movie is about the protagonist's name is Varun, played by Nagesh Kukunur. And he's a man who was born and raised in Hyderabad, but he's been living in the US for 12 years. And he's visiting. It's not clear if he hasn't visited the homeland in the last 12 years or not, or is this the first time he's visiting for a longish period of time? But he's visiting India and he's going to be there for a month. And during that month, it's just, he's interacting with his parents. They're nagging him to get married. He's interacting with his school buddies. One of them is already married and has two children and a third on the way. The other one is looking to get married. He goes and visits his own school. It's all the things you do when you visit your hometown, and it's all of the little things that annoy you and exasperate you when you go back home, because home is no longer what it was when you left it, and that results in so much angst. And it's very specific to that time period in like the late 90s and like the early 2000s, when the social media and stuff like that had not yet exploded. And NRIs, like Indians who lived in America, had like a very specific life, but it was very much this thing of like you're assimilating into American culture, but you're still very Indian, and you almost feel like you're trying to answer two doorbells at the same time, and you don't know how to do that. And there's a lot of angst that comes through. I love even the fact that he's titled it Hyderabad Blues, because this is a man who lived in Georgia, and there's the association with like the blues music and things like that, right? And it's basically about all these mixed feelings he has, and I can relate to that so much, because I grew up in Nigeria, then I lived in India, then I moved to America. And it's like you belong to all those places and they're all a part of you, but also you're an outsider no matter where you go. Like I'm an American citizen, I've lived here for 20 years. People still ask me where you're from originally. And I don't know how to answer. I'm like, I'm from Nigeria. Then they say, but you don't look African. They don't say that openly, but they say it in a very veiled way. And I'm like, well, I'm ethnically Indian and I have lived in India. And it's like, even if you think you belong, you never really do. And in this movie, in Hyderabad Blues, you can see how every time he asserts his Americanness, his friends say, but you're Indian. You're like, he'll say, well, you people just want to talk about like caste, and it's like 1998. What is wrong with you? And they're like, you people, you're one of us, by the way. So there's all of this like back and forth and all of this angst, but it's also very sweet. It's also very darling. He literally has to be coached on how to talk to the family maidservant who's been with them since he was little. His mom hands him like some money, in his hand to like offer it to the lady. And she literally says to him, do not tell her she looks good. Tell her she's so tired. She looks so tired and she should take better care of herself. And he's like, yes. And then he says to her, you look so tired. I hope you're taking good care of yourself. And then she says to her, his mom, she says, "Oh, look how much Babu still cares about me, and he realized that I am very tired." So he literally has to be coached on how to do things, and he's gonna go date this girl that he is very much like heart eye emoji towards, and she's a doctor. And there's a scene where he says to her, "Do you want to go watch a movie with me?" And she's like, "Sure, we can watch Hum Aapke Hain Kaun. It's at Maheshwari Theater." And he's like, "Okay," because he doesn't know anything about it. And his friend said, "Varun, you're gonna die. That movie has 13 songs in it." And then he comes home and complains to his dad that he had to see a terrible movie. And I was like, "Well, yeah, I'm sorry. Your friend did warn you." So it's just a very sweet slice of life movie. And I think anyone can relate to it. Like, even if you grew up in one part of America and then you went across the coast to go to school or whatever, your home isn't, it's like stuck in this era, and you're no longer in that era. And so there's a little bit of sadness. It's very bittersweet, but it's not like a depressing movie. It's kind of like what you said about The Color Blue, where it's like you're kind of sad but you want to talk about it. So it's a very chatty movie, and I love that about it. So
Hmm.
yes, I highly recommend Hyderabad Blues. Everybody should watch it. It's just very sweet. I watched it on YouTube, and it had captions as well, because the movie is in English and Telugu. So for the Telugu bits, of course, I needed the captions.
Yeah.
But it's very fun. It's very sweet, and it's very blue.
What do you mean very blue?
Like all the things that blue evokes, like the nostalgia and the little bit of sadness, but also you're not quite like unhappy, and like the angst and the being pulled in different directions. And there's like emotion in this movie, but it's not. One thing I love about Nagesh Kukunur's films, like I love his directorial style so much, is that even when there's emotion in his films, it's never mawkish.
Hmm.
It's never melodramatic. It's never over the top. It's very, very relatable. And every time I watch an Nagesh Kukunur film, and he often plays a character in his films, like he was in Teen Diware as well as one of the prisoners. I thought he was adorable in that. Um, I always feel like he's my friend. Like I always feel like I want to be your buddy. I want to go out and have like, a glass of wine with you, because I feel like like we could have such a great conversation. So his dialogue writing skills, the way he portrays people is very, very real. And it's
Mhm.
this very specific urban upper middle class kind of sensibility and mentality. So it's a very specific kind of culture that he kind of portrays. So his movies may not be for everyone, but the people who like his movies just are obsessed with them. Like I will not hear a single negative word against Hyderabad Blues. So yeah, it's very blue. What about your film?
Well, y'all, I did it. I watched Blue from 2009. It was not the first thing I thought of, but it
Okay.
sounded like it would be, I don't mean to say not taxing, like I wasn't going to pay attention, but it didn't sound challenging to me.
Mm.
I thought this is a big, probably kind of dumb, probably mostly action-ish film.
Kind of like Doom or something like
Yeah,
that.
and just not to say there's not thought put into those films, but I think that you can enjoy them without thinking too hard. Perhaps there will be more for you if you think harder. That's often true, I think, but like I felt like I could handle this at this time. And also after having seen Ye Diligi again, I was
Mm.
and have been thinking about Akshay Kumar a little bit. I was like, yeah, you know what? I remembered he was in that. And I was like, yeah, let's see what he's up to in 2009. Um, this movie is terrible, but it's also fun. And for the most part, I think it's very competently made.
Okay.
It's mostly the performances that are the problem.
Mm.
And I suspect the dialogue. Now, obviously, I'm dealing with subtitles when they're not, there's a lot of English in here in different ways.
Okay.
But I know enough Hindi to know that some of these dialogues are dumb. If you go into it with that expectation, perhaps you will also enjoy it. And I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it, and I think it's stupid, right? You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
It can be both things. So I had a very hard time not screen grabbing everything and sending it to Pitu exactly as I was watching it, because this movie opens with a historical with voiceover about how after India is independent, Britain is going to give back things that it looted from India, things that it has taken to the Bahamas. Why are those things in the Bahamas? We're not going to worry about that part. They
Okay.
for British for colonialism.
Yes.
Some things are just colonialism.
Things British do.
Things British people do. It's true.
Yeah.
They did anyway. And so we open with this flashback to a shipwreck, and you see kind of things, the wreckage in the ocean, and then you see a person. The person is Kabir Bedi, and then you see sharks. And we know Pitu loves sharks, and we know
Yes.
Kabir Bedi, and she also likes historical sort of archaeology things. I
Yes.
also enjoy all these things, but she enjoys them even more. So I was like, how did I just stumble across Pitu's favorite dream film that she's never watched?
Yes.
But then it goes very downhill for the next,
Okay.
like the first half of this film is dumb and you could skip it. I mean, you can skip this whole movie. Let's be clear. You don't need to see this movie. This is not,
I mean, I won't because I was promised Kabir Bedi and Shark, so I do intend to see it.
and yeah. So I think that you should watch the opening, let it get to the credit, because the credit sequence is kind of fun. And there's a lot of underwater footage in this, which
Oh,
looks beautiful. Now, I'm not an underwater documentary nut by any means, but I thought it looked beautiful. And like
yeah.
there's beautiful blue, Caribbean water, and there's all these interesting creatures swimming
The
around.
fishies.
Yeah, and like the title of the film is looks like it's kind of floating in the water, and then
Oh, okay.
so like it looks really nice. And then we learned that Sanjay Dutt and Akshay Kumar are fishermen or something in the Bahamas. And
Okay.
Sanjay Datta is Sanjay Dutt's girlfriend, and she wants to be a marine biologist, but they don't have enough money to open a wildlife sanctuary or something like that. Now, if you're concerned, Beth, why don't you remember? It's because there's like two sentences about it, and then they never talk about it
Okay.
again, at least as far as the subtitles indicated or that I could discern. So like that's her thing, and it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
And then they are bros who do bro things, and they do boxing, and like they actually are beating each other up quite a bit, and they're always like just being bros, and they're swimming with dangerous sharks. There's a shark they call Gubbar because of course there is, and they like have to wrestle Gubbar out of their like fishing area.
Okay.
And if I recall correctly, one of them actually punches a shark at one point. I really hope it's a fake shark because that's not acceptable, but
I do not support that.
no, I know, but bros being bros, just bro things, just like 40-some-year-old bro things. Actually, come terrible little like soul patch in this, and we've talked about how he is typically a handsome man.
Yes.
Terrible look on him. Um,
There was
Sunday,
a movie, sorry to digress, but there was
fine.
a movie of his where I think his co-star is Kareena Kapoor, and there's a terrible song in it called Gela 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 Gela. And literally that is the song. And he has a soul patch and he has frosted tips on his hair and he wears a tank top and like a black thread necklace, if I'm not mistaken, with like a shell on it. It is a terrible look. And I will look for that song and I will send you screen caps because that's the kind of
Oh,
friend I am,
I'll watch
Beth.
the whole song. I can invest 8 minutes or whatever
Yeah.
in this piece of knowledge. So they and Sanjay Dutt has a younger brother, Zayed,
Is it? I knew it.
who
Okay.
I don't hate him, but I don't really have anything to say for him other than I think he's fun in Mehuna.
Yeah.
As previously discussed, avoid Yar. How can we ever hate the person who gave us our favorite phrase, avoid Yar?
Yes.
So he is in Bangkok and he is a motorcycle race guy. So this movie has Doom Hangover.
Yeah.
Um, then who should stroll into the, like street racing scene, but my absolute non-favorite, Katrina. And she is dressed in Christina Aguilera hangover in the worst way. She's got like horrible fake dreadlocks. She's got like a
Oh.
lip piercing. She looks, dirty with several R's. And
So that's still like a Mehuna hangover too now.
yeah, yeah. So it does have that. Yeah. So it's way, way behind the times, I think, fashion-wise,
Hmm.
at least for her. But she's supposed to be bad, and she's like a gangster's girlfriend. And the main mob guy is Rahul Dev, who I really enjoy
Hmm.
kind of role. I think he does that really well. Um, Zahid Khan beats somebody in a motorcycle race, and then he comes to the attention of the mob boss who wants him to do some kind of job for him, and then he doesn't, and like bad things happen, and the mob boss blows up his bike, and then they kidnap Katrina. And Zayed's like, oh no. So then he has to go back to the Bahamas to get help from his brother and like get out of Bangkok because it's too hot.
Mm.
And then we find out that flashback all this takes like an hour. It takes way too long. And then, as did me telling you about it, I realized. And then we find out that Sanjay Dutt would love to go find that ship that sank with all the treasures on it from the
Right.
beginning.
The
And
looted treasures that
his
we must
father
have.
was an underwater archaeologist.
Oh,
Spoiler alert, he died trying to
retrieve that stuff.
on that ship. And so then they decide, and then bad guy shows up and blows up Sanjay Dutt and Laura Dutta's house, and that which is on the beach. They have beachfront house in the Bahamas. I'm like, okay,
Mm,
but they don't have any money. Like,
right.
uh, maybe that's a thing in the Bahamas, but that's not what I've ever heard. Uh,
Right. No.
so then they decide, well, they've
Maybe
got
they're just squatting.
right, they've got like one last chance to get the money together, to save Zayed and get Lara back from her being kidnapped. So they go to get this treasure. So that's basically the movie. Um, the action pieces are fun. A lot of them are underwater or near the water, and that's enjoyable. I don't care about the whole motorcycle part. Like you can skip
Right.
all the Zayed Khan part. That's fine. I know you're not shocked to hear me say that.
Yes.
But then, especially when they actually go about planning their to get the treasure, to get down to that shipwreck, that's very interesting. It becomes a little bit Ocean's 11-y, and
Mm,
I like a heist film. So we get a bit of that, and then, things happen. It also, of course, has Chiggy Wiggy,
right.
Kylie Minogue, and it is indeed, even though when she's going to be there, it's still shocking to think that there was ever a time where all these things aligned, and you had A.R. Rahman, Oscar winner, writing a song with lyrics with Chiggy Wiggy being performed by Kylie Minogue, who is not just, doing her little cameo filmed somewhere else and then spliced in. Like the stars are with her. Akshay Kumar comes swinging in on a chandelier and like, or he swings in on something. I think it's a chandelier. I might be mixing up that and Sheila, to be honest with you, but
Mm,
you know, so it really captures a particular moment in a way. Also, what I want to say about this film that is actually important, I think, is that because they're in the Bahamas, there are a lot of Black people in this movie,
mm.
and they
Okay.
are just people in the streets, and there's like a I don't think it's carnival exactly, but some kind of like
Mm.
street parade. And there's just tons of Black people dancing and having a good time or watching the
Oh,
parade,
good.
whatever, whatever. There aren't really any Black characters. There's like one woman at the very beginning when Akshay Kumar has like got his bevy of babes with him and they have names, but you don't see Black people in, I'll say Bollywood because specifically that's what I mostly watch, hardly ever,
Yeah.
especially if they're not evil hench people or like the heavies of some other, or like the people in the beginning of Pathan, right?
Baton. Or like
Yeah.
armed traffickers or
Right,
something terrible.
right,
Yeah.
right. So that I truly appreciated because I'm like, who are some of the people who live in this part of the world? These people, you know,
Right.
and it made it look like they actually filmed some of it there. I don't know if that's true or not. I also don't know. I believe they filmed in Phuket and I don't know
Hmm.
if Bangkok was also there, but I think so. So there is an extended scene at the end where you're like, that rock formation is very famous. You see it in movies all the time. That is
Mm.
in the Bahamas, y'all. That is in Southeast Asia.
That's like
Like
Koh Samui or
they
something.
try to pass off some of what I think is Thailand for the Bahamas, but whatever. It looks beautiful. It's fun. Definitely watch it on a plane, I would
Right.
say. And definitely, I don't know where interval was exactly because I don't think it showed me that in the upload I saw. But uh it is on in America, it is on Tubi with subtitles. Einthusen says it has subtitles on their upload, but it does not. So if you need subtitles and you have access to Tubi, watch it there.
I'm
It's
gonna
fun.
go out on a limb and say I don't think people who don't speak Hindi need to watch this movie with
Of course they
subtitles.
don't. Yeah, no. I mean, well, there might be one thing at the end where you're less sure what's going on because there's a
Okay.
thing that has happened that I'm not going to tell you about because I want you to enjoy it as it happens. But um now I will give you, particularly you, a little bit of a
Mm.
spoiler, which is Kabir Bedi does appear again, but he has no lines.
Oh, I'm so grateful you said he has no lines. I was afraid you were going to say he has no legs because I was still thinking about Kabir and the shark. And
Right.
I was like, I love Kabir. I love sharks. I don't want either of them to get hurt. In a dream scenario, if I was like lucid dreaming and I'd had a lot of NyQuil, I would imagine Kabir and the shark just being like the best of friends. So at first, I misheard you and I thought you were saying Kabir comes back with no legs. And I was like, oh no. But then you said no lines, and that's leagues better. But also, he has the most gorgeous voice in Bollywood. Why would you
Oh,
not
wait,
give this man lines?
he could have. No, I'm wondering if he had some and they cut them for some reason, or maybe the upload I saw was
How dare?
or something. Yeah, so his role could have been anyone. I don't know why
Hmm.
him, but I'm fine with it.
Yes, I'm not complaining about that.
Um, yeah,
You know what would make this movie more interesting is instead of Katrina being the one who's kidnapped, it's actually Kabir Bedi who's kidnapped, because then I would care.
yeah.
And then I would be invested in how they're gonna save him. Whereas if it's Katrina who's kidnapped, I don't really care.
To watch a scene now, she is still in the phase where where I refer to as baby catfish. Okay, where she was now she is moving her face in this role, I will say, but there was a time where she kind of just did like a little fish face a lot of the time.
Yes.
So she's a little better than that, but a scene, an extended sequence between Zayed Khan and Katrina Kaif, y'all, that's bad.
Yeah.
Bad. She's not better than he is. Um, it's bad.
Oh no. Is it like
But
an emotional scene between them?
yeah,
Oh God.
but any kind of
Okay.
scene between them is stupid. When
Right.
they first meet, they're both being like kind of jerks and like that kind of flip
Right.
ass, that kind of thing. So yeah, you if you watch this movie, watch the first few minutes to see the shipwreck and maybe the titles, and then I'd say fast forward for an hour or so.
Okay.
Will you see more like underwater diving? You could watch them fight the sharks at the beginning if you wanted to.
Okay.
I don't think they kill any sharks. I think they just kind of chase them off. You could
Okay.
watch that if you want, because I do think, and at least some of the times, I'm pretty sure it's those actors in their scuba gear and everything. Not maybe not all the time, but um, the songs are fine because they're A.R. Rahman, but watch Shiggy Wiggy and then fast forward until um you see the big explosion of the house on the beach, and then that will kick into the actual underwater archaeology part, which is the best.
Hmm. Why is the underwater archaeology part the best part?
Well, I mean, you get a lot of underwater sequences, but it's also,
Hmm.
I am much more interested in historical treasure
Same.
as unscientifically excavated as humanly possible. Like these are looters, to be clear. This is looting. Um,
Right.
although they do at the end talk a little bit about, X percent you give it to the government and then you get X percent or whatever.
Okay.
They do make a nod towards how that would probably actually work.
Hey, wasn't that what happened in the Feroz Khan movie we watched, the Dharmatma movie?
Yeah,
He had the suitcase full of the,
yeah,
yeah, okay.
yeah.
So
Uh,
these are like life lessons that Bollywood is teaching us.
right. Like uncle, like nephew, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. But also I just like it is a beautiful blue, it's Caribbean waters, right? It's
Mm,
pretty, and you see the fishies swimming around, and I thought they definitely could have done a much worse job at the like prop treasure and everything. Um I just enjoy that part. I enjoy the
yeah.
archaeology part. Yeah. Motorcycles and guns and stuff and fighting with fists, I don't care about. But the swimming part, but that's what makes this movie different than any other movie, right? And at
Right.
its time, of course, it was the most expensive Indian movie ever made, according to Wikipedia and various other places. And I don't know anything about how movies are actually made, but I can imagine that this was expensive, especially for
Right.
not in India, which it seems that they are not. So um at least a lot of it. But yeah, really the acting in this is terrible. It's really bad. I don't know what, like we've said, Akshay Kumar can be really fun. He's not. He's kind of a dick
No,
in this movie.
he's
Sanjay Dutt
pathetic.
seems a little bit like, why am I here? I'm like, well, I don't know, dude. You signed the movie, so you tell me, why are you here? Why don't you show me why you're here?
Well, Sanjay Dutt is the same way as Akshay Kumar in that I remember Sanjay Dutt when he was great. Like I remember the Sanjay Dutt of like Naam, and I remember the Sanjay Dutt of like Sadak. Like he was amazing back in the day when he was like a young one, and he was doing these really meaty roles, and he had really good acting skills and everything. And he had this like hangdog expression that really worked for the characters that he played, and he was so good. And then at some point, he also went down the Akshay Kumar route where they get to this point, I don't know why, where they just lose interest in acting, I think, and they just want the fat paycheck and they want to continue being a star, and it's just a job, and they're jaded and they're just phoning it in. And so then I remember Sanjay that getting into that phase, like I feel like post Khalnayak and everything is when I started finding him really annoying, where it was no longer the Sanjay Dutt of yore, but he just started. He started doing these movies where he had that exact expression where you said, it's like, why am I here? And it's like, you're here because of the paycheck and no other reason. And he just looks like drunk all the time, or not even drunk. He just looks stoned all the time, which works to his benefit in a movie I love, which you also very much enjoy, which is Dad.
Right.
But if he's not playing an actual stoned person, then it doesn't work.
It also seems in this movie like he's very tired.
Yes.
And maybe it was very hard to film a lot of this stuff with the underwater,
Hmm.
especially, and like they were sad to sit around being soggy all the time or something. I don't know. But that wouldn't explain every scene of being I don't know.
You WhatsApp me a ranking of the bad acting in this movie. Do you want to tell our viewers what the
Um,
ranking
I'm
is?
gonna have to pull it up to make sure I do it in the correct order from the film. So let me just scroll backwards through this. But I really was struck by how bad
I
they
have it
did
here.
this. Oh, please tell me, what was it?
So you said the order of acting in this goes Rahul Dev top,
Yeah.
then a significant gap, then Sanjay Dutt,
Okay.
Lara Datta, Akshay Kumar, Zayed Khan, Katrina.
Yeah, that's right. I maintain that after having finished the film. And
None of these
Katrina
people
not
are
able to
heavy hitters.
say anything. It's so I did spend some time thinking about, would this have been better with other people in it? And I guess probably, but it also was kind of dumb. So
Right.
like why bother putting better people in it? You know what I mean?
This is true. Because you're not going to give them a particularly well-etched role and character, and they don't have good dialogues anyway. So why waste your time with that? I guess then you might as well just. I mean, I guess we're just lucky they didn't cast Uday Chopra. Or do you think you would have added something? Because I do enjoy Ali
I
from
think
Dhoom.
if he had had Zayed's role, I think he would have, if he had brought the Ali energy or they had given
Mm,
lines like that, that would have been a little more enjoyable because and I guess Zayed is maybe supposed to be, he's not really comical though. I
mm,
mean, he's like younger brother, but he's also supposed to be a cool bro, so it's not like my doofusy younger brother. So I don't
right.
know. I don't know. I think he could have, but I think this
Is this
more like, no, thank you.
right? Is this a Yash Raj movie? It's giving me very Yash Raj vibes.
No, it does have a lot of money behind it though, clearly. It is
Yeah.
I don't know this name. Tafel Jatania.
I have no idea who this person
Um,
is. That person is a producer?
this person also was a producer on Rockstar, Bol Bachchan, Golmaal 3, Dabang,
Wow. Okay. Well, some of
Lock,
those are really big
Kidnap,
names.
Jab We Met.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, so has been a producer for a few, like 20-ish,
Hmm.
16 films according to IMDb. So
Okay.
like, not a name that I know, but yeah, this movie is
It's just with the bloated star cast and like with the big budget and stuff. It just and then also the Doom hangover and the Mehuna hangover. It was giving me very YRF vibes.
yeah, I can see why you'd say that. No. No, in a script, what if you were to watch it, you would be like, oh yeah, the script is not up to Yash Raj standard.
Mm.
Generally speaking, I'm sure there's some exceptions of Yash Raj films that have terrible scripts, but yeah, but I would like you particularly to watch some of the underwater stuff. I think you will have fun, and I want you to watch
Yeah.
the Kabir
I
when
think
you
I'll have
back
fun.
towards the end of the film when you see more of him. I would like
Yeah.
you to
I will definitely check it out for that. Like you had me at Kabir Bedi and Shark. I was like, I literally posted
start
it on Instagram. I was like, Beth knows the keys to my heart.
it started so strong, but then it really devolves.
um,
Like,
why do you think this movie was named Blue? Because I mean, apart from
I
the
was
obvious,
thinking
the
about
Caribbean
that.
waters.
Remake, it's a remake of an American film that has blue in the title.
Oh,
Um, that movie is called Into the Blue.
okay.
Well, I assume that's why. But but I mean it is very sunny most of the time in this film because partly because of the locations. And I'm in spring in the Midwest of the US, and it could be 75 and sunny, or it could be like 40 and cold and gray like it is today. So, I did appreciate the sort of sunshine escapeness of this movie. So
Yeah.
me, Blue was giving like easy breezy
Mm,
vibes in this, even though there's like action and family drama, and there's a, houses being exploded and a mafia guy and whatever else. So I don't know if it's, but it did have that like popcorn movie. Blue was giving
Like
that to me.
summer blockbuster vibes minus the
Yes,
blockbuster part.
yes, yeah. Like, have your popcorn, enjoy the air conditioning. And I can see how some of the songs, especially, would have been fun on the big screen for this. And like,
Mm.
I mean, it is so weird that Kylie Minogue is there, but there she is. It's quite an artifact in its own way.
It reminds me of that Govinda song that has Samantha Fox in it.
Right.
That is very like memorable to me as well. Um, okay. So I assume that the only Blue associations with this movie, apart from the actual visuals, is the easy breeziness that we associate with
Yeah.
Blue
Yeah.
and like the holiday vibes.
Yeah. Holiday. Yeah. Like warm tropical water vibes.
Okay. You know which movie I was thinking of, and I absolutely do not mean this as a compliment to Blue. It just made me think of it. Have you seen the Tom Cruise movie Night and Day? It's
No, but that's what Bang Bang is a remake of, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I've
So
seen
it's
Bang
Tom
Bang.
Cruise and Cameron Diaz. It's actually a lot of fun.
I love
And
them.
I haven't seen Bang Bang because I don't want to watch a Katrina movie, despite my love for Hrithik Roshan. If I watched it, it would be for Hrithik, not for Katrina. But Night and Day is actually like, it's fun. It's
Yeah.
not like a particularly memorable movie. I've only seen it the one time. I thought it was fun. I put it out of my head, but it has like really good, like, motorcycle sequences and like the chemistry between Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz, which on the surface is a very odd pairing, is actually good. And it has some very like fun locations and stuff in like Spain, and it's really pretty. And so when I was in Spain, I went to this restaurant, and they had like a really big photo of Tom Cruise
Uh,
with the manager or the owner of the restaurant, because apparently he ate paella there, and I was like, "Ee!" So, okay. What other movies were you thinking of talking about for this episode? Because you did say that Blue was not your first choice.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously we've spoken about one of the things that comes to mind. Sorry, there are a couple of things that come to mind for me when I think about the color blue
Mm,
indie film, and I'm not talking about connotations of the word blue,
mm,
like visually. One, unfortunately, is Duar, which we've already discussed, but of course, the blue shirts of the dock workers, uh,
yeah.
that is iconic to me. I also think of Dil Chahta Hai as a very blue movie to me. So and
Mhm,
again, to the water in Goa, but like again, it's kind of sunny out, and like they've got some pretty, I believe there's some blue interiors, like the Bubble song has blue in it.
mhm, yeah.
But we've also that will be in our NRI film episodes. I didn't want to bring that one up. There's a couple of other movies that have blue in them in a way that I think of here and there, but those are kind of the major ones. And I did kind of think like, well, could I find one that was again very clear blue sky, that kind of blue? So like maybe another Rajasthan one with a desert sky,
Mm,
or maybe
mhm.
um maybe something set near the coast again. But for some reason, the fact that there was a movie called Blue popped
Yeah,
in my head, and I was like, well, I gotta watch that.
right.
I don't gotta, I chose to, but
Are there any iconic blue costumes in Bollywood movies that you think of when you think of blue?
other than those shirts, no,
There
no.
aren't a ton. I don't know if I would call this iconic, but my 90s brain loves it. It's the kind of terrible outfit that Manisha Koirala has worn in the song in Guddu, with Shah Rukh Khan. You know that very terrible song in the rain where she's Daddy Se Pooch Lena?
Mm.
So that's like a blue outfit I always think of. And then there's, of course, the most iconic would be Sri Devi in Mr. India in Kate Nahi Karte Din Re Raat in the blue chiffon sari. Like she looks so amazing in that one. I think those are kind of the only two blue outfits that come to mind
I will
to
tell
me.
you that I just found a YouTube video called "A Chaotic Analysis of Iconic Blue Bollywood Outfits," and I will put it in the comments for people to watch.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. And one of the pictures is Ashwarya in Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam, right? She wears blue in Nimbuda, doesn't she?
Yes.
But
She
yeah,
looks amazing in that
I
shade.
don't think of blue very often for Bollywood. And when I do, I tend to
Yeah.
think of a darker blue, like a
Yes.
midnight blue kind of thing. But I'm not even sure I can point to you why exactly, but that's just kind of what's coming to mind for me.
Yeah, like almost like that shade of Twilight
Yeah.
and the dark. Like there's I was actually thinking about the movie Super Deluxe,
Mhm.
because that has a lot of like iconic blues in it. I've still not seen Pushpa 2, even though I want to, but in Pushpa 2 he's worn this like very like rich royal blue sari, and I really want to watch that at some point. But when I think of blues in Bollywood, apart from like the peacocks that often show up in films, like there's peacocks in Lamhe,
Yeah.
there's anytime there's a movie set in Rajasthan, there's always peacocks. But apart from that, when I think of blues, I just think of those like moody grays and blues. When there's the rain songs,
Yeah.
like one song that I really love, which is so iconic and it's so Mumbai, is the song from Manzil, the one that is
Sure.
Amitabh Bachchan and
Yeah.
Moshmi Chatterjee, and she's wearing a blue sari in that, a blue like
Ah, yeah.
polyester Georgette situation,
Yeah.
and they're by Marine Drive and it's raining and they're singing Rim Jim Gire Savan. So when I think of blues, I'm thinking of those moody blues. I think Bollywood does moody blues really well. I don't really think of like the preppy blues and the pastels and things like that. I know you've traveled to Rajasthan. Have you ever been to what is that city that's like totally blue? Am I
I
thinking
have
of
not.
Bikaner?
I know where you mean. I have not, but those
Or
pictures are stunning.
I can't remember if it's Jodhpur or Bikaner, but I've been there. Is
Yeah.
it Jodhpur? Yeah. It's so pretty. Like I went there and I was like, every single picture was just like astounding. And our friend Lunchy takes amazing photographs. And I remember a few years ago, she gone to Morocco and she shared her Flickr account with me back when people had like Flickr accounts. And she went to the city in Morocco. It's called, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, but I think it's called Chef Chowchen.
Hmm.
Chef Chowin, whatever. And like Jodhpur, that is also like a blue city and beautiful. Like all the pictures, like every single photo that Lunchy took, just like of the staircase or whatever. I was like, this is beautiful. Take me with you. And all the shades of like in Morocco, they have those. I've never been, just FYI, but like in Morocco, they have those like riads.
Yeah.
And there's like always like a little pool in the middle, and it has those like very Islamic art and architecture tiles, and
Mhm.
the water just on it is so stunning. It's just so like opulent in a way. But yeah. Okay. I think that concludes this episode. So guys, tell us if you've seen Hyderabad Blues and Blue, two very, very different movies, and tell us what you think about them. Tell us what you think of the color blue, and what movies would you have chosen for this episode if you were thinking about your favorite movie that features blue. And Beth, do you have anything to add?
No, but I will say that green obviously will come next, and I don't know what I'm gonna do for green.
I
So
already know what I'm doing. I'm excited.
for you said you had chosen, so I need to get on it. But I'm really enjoying thinking about colors, and I just thinking, what do they mean culturally and how do filmmakers
Hmm.
them and all that kind of stuff. So it's a fun way to also to think about costuming, which I know you and I both are
Yes.
talking about and set designs
Oh
like that. So
gosh. You know what just occurred to me? It's
mm,
a terrible movie, but it's Savaria. That's a very
that
blue,
is a very blue movie. Yeah.
like
A
so many
different blue.
shades of
Yeah.
the dark indigos and like the really dark like royal, because it's a beautifully shot film. I think the movie is absolute
Yeah.
rubbish, but it's so pretty, and just the stills alone are very beautiful. And that song, You Shabnami, that's shot so beautifully. And then Rani has a song in it where she's wearing like a sparkly sequined sari with a rose in her hair, and that's really fun. Ore Chabila, I think that song is. So yeah, that's a movie that's very like blue. Also, we didn't talk about how literally blue film is literally like an adult
I
film.
thought about that. I mean, we kind of got to that a little bit with Dirty Picture.
Yeah.
I did think about, okay, I don't, I've talked briefly about the movie Shakila, which has
Hmm.
that is very much like a Dirty Picture. Um, I thought about doing that one, but since we had just done Dirty Picture for Purple, I was like, no, it's too recently.
Yeah. So I was actually reading a lot of trivia about Hyderabad Blues, and I read that because of the title, at first the censor board in Hyderabad or wherever, they were like, because the movie, I think premiered in the US at like,
Mhm.
at a bunch of festivals. It was shown over here, and then I think it released in India. And its first screening, I think Sham Benegal was over there,
Hmm.
and they talked about how the censor board wanted something like 91 cuts in it, but then they got away without making that many cuts because there's a lot of f-bombs dropped in the movie. All of those had to be cut out. And there's this like ongoing inside joke that they keep making, which is basically slang for wanking off. And that line from Hyderabad Blues is iconic, by the way. Like,
Nice.
like I would love to go into a bar and just be like, "Dil pe mat le yaar," and see who responds. And the person who says "Haath mele" is my friend. It literally means don't take it to heart, take it in your hand. So it's just this very fratty like inside joke about banking off. So I think that got into trouble, and the YouTube print that I saw had all of that cut out. But
Oh,
when I saw Hyderabad Blues in the theater, it was there. So I'm not, but maybe the theater I went to had like an A cert. I don't know what was going on. But Nagesh Kukunur did talk about how when they submitted the title and it was called Hyderabad Blues, one of the question was like, what certification, or is this like a blue film? And he was like, no, it's not, it's just called Hyderabad Blues. So anyway, I think that this concludes this episode of Filmy Ladies, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye.